Hey, everybody, and welcome to another Soulful conversation. It is my honor and my pleasure to introduce you to my friend, Gregg Westwood. He is the founder of Depth Integration, and you can access his website below. Welcome, Greg, and thanks for sharing your time and your wisdom with us.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me, Christian. It's a pleasure to be here.
Uh, as you know, these are meant to be just short and sweet conversations to give people a sense of what you're up to and how you got to where you are. So tell us a little bit about your work with depth integration as a coach and your journey to how you got there.
Well, I received my master's degree in somatic psychology at Huerta University back in the 90s and have been studying many spiritual paths throughout my life and decided a few years ago to create my own work. And so I developed depth integration as a combination of all the different practices that I use personally and that I use with my clients. So,
And
uh, so we
what
use
was your
most.
journey of from because so many people in this group are, like you and me, they feel the call to do something, to make a difference. I know there's a lot of coaches and budding coaches and people who really want to make a difference, a lot of healers in this group. And,
Right.
and so I would love for you to tell a bit of your story, how you moved through your fear, your resistance, whatever was holding you back, whatever you had allowed to hold you back from really stepping into your purpose, so that it can serve perhaps as inspiration, as motivation for somebody else.
What I call sacred expression practices, they're creative practices. So my belief is that creativity and spirituality are the same energy. They are the same experience. And so when we are able to use them in a sacred way, they transform us. And so what I did personally for myself is I used these practices, but I used the intention of doing it in a sacred way. And it really shifted my experience from my ego to my soul. And it gave me the strength to take risks, to be on this interview with you in front of a bunch of people that I wouldn't have been able to do even a year ago, I don't think. And so I guess by using these practices in a deep way, by welcoming and accepting all of our experience, our feelings, and breathing into it and expressing fully, you go into a space that is full of possibilities. And I just found myself following the messages and following my inner guidance to take these steps. Because like I said, I did my degree a long time ago, and then I took a journey into more of a corporate America type thing, and made some money, and became healthy financially, but my soul was really hurting. And so a few years ago, I just really followed this calling inside of me that, Greg, you're here to be of service to people, and let's just do it. Life is short. Let's do it.
Yeah, I had a spiritual teacher who used to talk about how many of us have one foot in the spiritual world, with that spiritual calling to step into who we are and to really fulfill our purpose. And then we've got another foot in the corporate world, how do I pay the bills kind of thing. And
Right.
and it's a really uncomfortable place to be because she called it doing the splits. And much more comfortable to just put both feet firmly planted on one. And I think that's what you did a year ago when you finally made the choice and said, "Yep, I'm in fully." And so
And
tell us a little bit about that journey and how it can be supportive to somebody else.
I just want to say real briefly, like when we allow spirit to move through our body and follow it, our life really becomes magical. My last year has blown me away. Just the experiences of I've hosted a couple of online summits with amazing speakers throughout the world, and have uh, and as you get out of the ego and follow your soul, the soul creates so many more magical experiences than you could ever do with your head or your ego. And so I'm kind of getting lost in my thought there. So what was your question?
Well, no, but I love the visual because we don't have time to dive into what the ego is here, but a really quick visual is the stadium and the baseball. If we put a baseball in the center of the stadium, that's what the ego is, the small mind or individual sense of separate personality. Who
Yeah,
we are is actually the stadium. And we've allowed this tiny, tiny, tiny part of us to think that it is all of us and to make really important choices like, do I quit my job? Do I step into my real calling from its very small and limited and always fear-based perspective?
right.
And when we step, which is what you're talking about, when we step outside of the baseball and into the realm of the stadium, magic happens, all sorts of stuff that from our limited perspective we could never see coming. And so I love to hear more about how that was for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it sounds so simple, but what you're saying is so true. It's always a choice between love and fear. And love sounds so, I don't know, so much like a simplistic a choice. It's not for sure, but the power of it is 100-fold. I was just in Ecuador and had an amazing sacred healing experience there where I was able to create enough space in my body to feel at least 500 times more love and compassion and forgiveness than I could ever imagine feeling. And that set point has changed me forever. And I know it's possible for me to do that every day.
Hmm.
Um,
And let's talk a little bit. I would ask you a little bit about your summits because you and I've been talking about spirit and the soul and the calling and this and that. Yet the themes of your summits are about embodiment, about conscious embodiment, which you began to allude to now with those experiences you had in Ecuador. Talk a little bit about that nexus between creativity and embodiment.
yeah, well, like I was talking about earlier, and one of the experiences in Ecuador, it really um, heightened my awareness of the power of the voice, and I'm really playing with that right now too, as a sacred expression um, vehicle to take you from contraction to expansion. So all these creative embodiment expressions that we do in our daily life. We maybe go to a play or a concert, and we notice how it shifts our experience. But when we actually experience them ourselves, when we can sing from the soul, these shamans were like, Gregorio, sing. And I was like, what? And I just sang, and the shift of allowing my voice to just express itself authentically shifted me and shifted the ceremony itself. So when we can go into these activities like movement, dancing, uh, writing, poetry, uh, breathing, singing. Actually, Rod Stryker, who's a great yogi, talks about how sounding or the om is the fastest way to shift your experience. So, when you're feeling fearful or whatever, and you can bring your awareness to that and use an embodiment expression, it shifts your experience into spaciousness and into love. And sometimes you have to really express yourself deeply. It has to be an emotional expression. But these little simple tools I'm finding and are just so powerful, because our creativity is our soul's expression. So when I help people find what really their expression that really changes their life experience, they begin living and they begin taking risks, like you were saying that I have done, because they're following that authentic, they're embodying their true self. So
Beautifully spoken. Let's talk a little bit about how you work with clients, because here on one hand we're talking about embodiment and not leaving the body behind in this process of spiritual transformation, and yet we're still kind of just coming out of the pandemic. So you're doing the majority of your work, as I am, virtually. How do you work with clients in this area of embodiment virtually?
it's really not much different than in person. The only difference, I guess, would be if there was some kind of a physical interaction of touch of some sort in the work. But so the first step is always to slow down. You can't hear your soul if your mind is active. Our minds just run and run and run. And so we need to slow down, develop that witness in our meditation. Meditation is the best really tool to help us develop that witness. And then be able to scan the body and understand what's going on here. What's in the way of allowing spirit to flow through me? Because spirit is energy, is all around us all the time, and it's wanting to flow through you. And then you have got unexpressed emotions or traumas or things like that we have stored in our body, that if we welcome those, welcoming is a really powerful tool that I think a lot of people don't do. Is we kind of, I'm not that, I'm not I'm not a rageful person, I'm not angry, I'm not fearful. We don't want to own those parts, but when we welcome those parts into us and we hold them, and then we give them some kind of expression, we give them the then of course breath, as you know, is the most wonderful tool to then give that feeling in amplification, so it's able to move through you. So I think I love the quote of Fritz Perls, fear is excitement without breath, right? So and when you don't breathe into the fear, it gets bigger. And if you breathe into the fear, like I did a little bit before I came on here, then it expands. It goes into expansion in excitement, in joy. So back to how I work with people, we really develop a strong relationship with being able to connect with themselves, being able to sense what's in the body, being able to know what feels uncomfortable, breathing into that, allowing some kind of expression, whether it's emotional, whether it's what I said before, sacred expression, movement. Movement is a wonderful way to allow that expansion to go through your whole body, and then you feel a shift. And once you express fully, there's a shift into that flow. And you can feel that go through your whole body, and you breathe into that and allow that to go in through your whole body. And then you bring your awareness in as to, how do I take this into my daily life? How do I take this new knowing, of love, this new knowing of forgiveness, whatever that person experienced, or this new owning of self-worth, and how do I, what are the steps that I'm going to take to embody that in my daily life moving forward? So
Yeah,
that's clear.
words of wisdom. And I'm going to resist my temptation to get into a deeper conversation about the breath
I know.
because yeah, and maybe in another setting, but right now I just want to keep it, respectful of your time
Sure.
uh, and like I said before, we're keeping these short intentionally.
Yeah.
So, any final words for somebody? Just imagine yourself a year ago, 5 years ago, knowing in your heart, in the deepest parts of you, that you had a calling and that you had work to do, that to make a difference, to help others. Um, so, what can you say to somebody who might be where you were a year ago, 3 years ago, that would be supportive of them saying yes and taking whatever steps they need to take to step fully into their purpose?
The two words that come to me are trust and surrender, and and those can be really scary at first. So I think we all need support to take that step. I mean, when I was in your wonderful, year-long coaching program, that's where the fire started in me, and where it started to get the support, and then it moved on to a different support system that helped me create the summits and all that stuff. So it's that you follow the quiet voice of your soul, and you trust and surrender that voice has the highest your best interest, I guess, is the best way in mind, and in ways that you can't even imagine. And when you follow that, your life changed. I'm a completely different person than I was when I met you, and I feel that it takes discipline, it takes strength, um, but when you follow your heart, you feel joy, you feel the support. And I guess the other thing is when you relax. When you relax is when you feel the support. And I think when you're in a situation like I was, and so many maybe of your viewers are as well, where you're really unhappy and you can't relax, when I would let go of that part of my life, and started to relax, things just started unfolding in beautiful ways that I could never imagine. So trust, surrender, discipline, do it every day, and get the support that you need. We're social beings. We need each other to help us reach and we need each other to be at our most authentic self for this world to change. Each of us has a special gift that's part of the circle, that's part of the solution. And when we can support each other in living from that authentic place, and sharing your creativity with the world, it's just everything.
I couldn't add anything to those beautiful words and empowering words. So, thank you so much, Gregg, for sharing of yourself and your experience, your time. I know that your willingness to do so makes a difference and will make a difference in other people's lives. So, thank you so much. And thank you all for watching this Soulful Conversation. If you want to be considered and if you want to apply to be interviewed, as you can see, they're short and sweet, and beautiful conversations. So just email me directly or private message me, and we'll get it going. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your weekend, wherever you are. Much love, many blessings, and thanks again, Gregg.
Thank you so much, Christian.